In 2015, the academic Yuval Noah Harari published the book Homo Deus. By a show of hands, who here's actually come across this book? Okay, some of you guys. It's a fascinating read. In it, Harari reveals why 2012 was by far the biggest and most momentous year in the history of our human species. And here's why. Harari believes that up until 2012, the human species has had to deal with three horrific terrors: war, famine, and plague. And the chances are that each of us in this room have ancestors that probably would have suffered at the fate of each of these. So what the hell happened in 2012? Well, ironically, due to human advances in technology, you're now more likely to be at risk of the opposite occurring. Let me explain. You're now more likely to harm yourself than die in conflict. You're more likely to die of obesity than you are starvation. And we're now more at risk of age-related illnesses than we are of catching the plague or some sort of terrible virus. And whilst these problems are things that still need to be fixed, there's something that our ancestors probably couldn't have even dreamed of. Some of them may have even welcomed the obesity one. All of this is down to science, which leads Harari to contend that at the dawn of the 21st century, there's a new religion in town: dataism. Now don't worry, we're not here this evening to indoctrinate you into our data science cult. What I am suggesting is that this new religion of dataism is filtering into every part of our lives. How we talk, how we think, how we work. It is now very common to hear phrases like this. Have you got any evidence for that? How do you measure that? When it comes to the marketing industry, however, there's still a bit of a hangover from the last century, where this was the prevailing narrative. Half the money I spend on advertising is wasted. The trouble is I don't know which half. But of course that's not the case anymore. We can measure and track everything. And what I think we've seen over the last 15 years or so is a battle between the madmen and the maths men. Now, so many of us got into marketing because we wanted to be madmen, myself included. Write that killer, compelling copy that will get people to buy. But all of a sudden, we've had to become data scientists. And we've also had to deal with maths men coming in. And some of the madmen haven't been happy about that. I know one of my members of staff a few weeks ago actually heard someone say, look guys, this all sounds a bit too scientific. Can we just go with our gut instincts here? And I think that's the problem. There's been this sort of paradigm clash between madmen and maths men, which has led to chronic underperformance in the marketing industry as a whole. And of course, I've got some evidence to support this. This is HubSpot's state of inbound last year. At the top, you see the three biggest terrors for marketeers. The first one amazes me: generating traffic and leads. Generating leads. As digital marketers, that's your job. It's like an accountant's biggest problem being, doing the books correctly. The second one I find very interesting as well: proving ROI of marketing activities. Well, surely if you can prove the ROI, if you can track things properly, you can generate more traffic and leads, and you can secure enough budget. But the thing that all of these problems, I believe, mask is a rather uncomfortable truth in marketing that we all kind of know deep down. A lot of money is wasted every day on misspent advertising. Thousands and thousands of pounds is wasted. And one of the things that drives me is I want to try and put a stop to that as much as possible. And actually, that's kind of the idea behind this event. You see, there's so much noise out there of activities and things to try, stuff to do. And this event was born from conversations with myself, Martin and Adrian, of actually how can we offer people clear, evidence-based, proven steps to maximize revenue and take market share. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Full Funnel Optimization. This is a basic funnel. Each of the speakers are going to talk about different parts of the funnel. The bit I'm going to talk about is attribution, so measuring the funnel, and then increasing click-through rate and conversion rate. That's the CTR and the CVR. And I'm going to talk about this through three core strategies that I've seen work incredibly well in a range of sectors, especially the tech sector. Before I get into those strategies, you might be wondering, okay, well, who are you? Are your strategies any good? Are there any third parties that can verify that you actually know what you're talking about? I think that's all fair. So Rachel said, my name is Marcus Hemsley. I'm one of the founders of Fountain, strategic digital marketing agency I co-founded almost a decade ago. Our mission is to take the risk out of marketing and deliver exponential return on investment. Sounds bold, doesn't it? How do we do it? We forecast up front to reduce risk, and then we do full funnel optimization to deliver exponential return on investment. And in the last 10 years, we've obsessively worked on our methodology. And in 2016, we were awarded at the highest level possible. Google had their very first Premier Partner Awards. To be a Premier Partner, you're in the top 3%, 5% of agencies. Okay, there's 1,500. She's shaking her head. She's going to say it's 50 or something. But you know the numbers, Roxanne?
Possibly can't disclose them, but you might not be too far off.
Fine. Sorry, these guys sign NDAs. It's absolutely fine. 1,500 agencies entered, 90 were shortlisted, Fountain ended up winning. Last year we went one step further. We won the EMEA leg, flown out to represent Europe, Middle East and Africa in New York, and ended up winning Google's Global Award for growing businesses online. How did we do that? What did we do differently? I'm going to share that with you this evening. Spoiler, it's full funnel optimization. Have we done stuff that's relevant for the tech sector? Well, yes, we have. We have some very large clients in Silicon Valley. But my favorite story, and what really drives me, is helping smaller businesses grow. Trade Extensions, we worked with for about 2.5 years, helped them double in turnover, and they were acquired by Cooper last year. So enough about our creds, let's move on to the strategies, the content for you guys. Here are the 3 areas I'm going to talk to you about. Attribution is key, and we're going to talk more about that, but ultimately it will get you more profit. Conversion rate optimization, more leads for less. And the last one I love, because very few people are doing it, advanced remarketing. It will help you be a thought leader, stay front of mind. It's incredibly cheap, and it's worth taking advantage of. Let's begin with full attribution. Aha, the sneaky slide. I want to talk a little bit about forecasting first. What you measure you can improve, right? We can all agree about that. But what you measure you can also forecast. And it amazes me how few people actually do forecasting in digital marketing. When people want to start a new campaign, they often come to us and they say, I want a bit of pay-per-click or SEO. And I kind of stop them there because I believe the biggest mistake in marketing is focusing on activities, not outcomes. So I say to them, look, what does success look like for you? Specifically, how many customers do you want and how much do you want to pay for them? And we get the cost per acquisition, the CPA, which I believe is one of the 3 most important numbers in digital marketing. So say, for example, your cost per acquisition is £500. We can then go out and find out where your target audience are. I always say to people, where's your target audience? Well, it's probably in front of a screen, yes, but what websites are they on? What are they putting into Google? And we can then get the cost per click. And when you've got these 2, this is beautiful. Look, so the cost per click is £5. We can then work out in the funnel what the conversion rate required is. Why is that important? It's to forecast to reduce risk. A funnel like this, if the conversion rate required is 1%, so 1 in 100 people who click have to go on to buy, what do you guys think? Probably worth testing? Yeah. What if it was a 20%? If the cost per acquisition was £25, then it'd be a high risk one. Now it sounds pretty basic, pretty straightforward, but you'd be amazed because 68% of people who come to us and want us to set up a new campaign for them, we have to turn away. We say, look, the cost per acquisition is, it's not high enough for the cost per click. It's too risky. And I think there's a reason why marketing agencies are probably down there with bankers and politicians, because they promise, they take the money, we get a bit richer, the prospect gets a bit poorer. But the most people we do work with, in fairness, already have an existing campaign. I expect most of you guys in the room will be in that position. What we tend to do at the beginning is we get them to get their house in order. So what I mean by that is setting up full tracking. So we can track right the way from the keyword level, right the way through to lifetime value and profit. And this is a theme we're going to come back to tonight about lifetime value and profit. What I'm really talking about here is attribution. We want to find out where the best customers are coming from, because not all customers are created equal. And really, when you find out where the more profitable customers are coming from, you can then prioritize your optimization efforts. So whether you use an agency, whether you've got in-house staff or you're licensing software, whatever's doing your optimization, you're paying money. And every pound you get, you want to yield the best return on investment. You want to get more profit. Sounds obvious. What we've discovered that's quite interesting is that the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, applies to digital marketing, so that the top 20% of ads bring 80% of the revenue. And I used to get fed up of Pareto. I used to band it around in business networking sessions all the time. And I thought, okay, I get it, fine, there's disproportionality. Then I discovered something interesting. You can chunk up. So the top 20% of the top 20%, i.e. the top 4% of ads, bring 64% of the revenue. And this is, you guys can see over there, you can see this in this thin bit up here. Just imagine for a second, if you knew where those 4% of ads were, you could increase the click-through rate, you can get more clicks, you can get more conversions, more sales. That way you can disproportionately get more profitable customers. Now some of you might be thinking, well, hold on a second, I think we do a bit of that. Like a lot of people do some basic attribution. But I'd encourage you to go back to your agencies or whoever you have doing it for you and just question, are you looking past cost per lead? What they should be looking at is lifetime value. Let me show you what I mean by that. This is the basic funnel again, yeah? This top half of the funnel is where digital marketers like to play, right? We increase click-through rate, we increase conversion rate, but we base our optimization on the cost per lead. But imagine if we were tracking right the way down to lifetime value, and we had to say maybe 1,000 keywords, and we saw there were 40 that bought these type of customers, and they were different from the 40 that have the cheapest cost per lead or the highest quality of lead. So it's hard work. I've tested lots of people that, oh, it's so hard to track. It is, but it's the difference that can make the difference. It's the difference that can take market share. So let's have a thought experiment here. We now know that in your business, what those top 40 keywords are. So we're sticking with Google search here because we're in the lovely Google. Now we start dialing up the click-through rate and conversion rate. We start working this funnel hard. So how do you do that? Click-through rate is relatively straightforward. Ad split testing. Running controlled experiments, and that's another common theme for tonight. Interestingly enough, a lot of people take ad split testing in quite a sort of haphazard way. They kind of do it as they feel like it, right? Perry Marshall written a number of books on AdWords excellence. He actually says that if you do 50 ad split tests, you'll get one outlier. So say, for example, this is 4%, and you get 4.1, 4.2, and so on. And all of a sudden, you find an outlier. You keep doing it, and one gets 8%, boom. Now we've doubled the number of clicks. That means we can actually bid a bit lower, right? Because we're getting more of the traffic. So this is really interesting. Now you've done this, you can get more profitable traffic for less. Now we move on to my favorite, conversion rate optimization. If there's one thing you take from tonight, I'm sorry to the other speakers, it's this. Invest more into conversion rate optimization. I just don't understand why more people don't put money into it, because it brings the best return on investment out of all digital marketing strategies. But of course, everyone's talking about pay-per-click, SEO, etc. But let me show you using some basic maths here. Someone gave me a call about 5 years ago and said, Marcus, I want an extra 23,400 visitors to my website a month, please. So, okay, it's a bit of an odd number, but why? He said, well, I'm getting that through SEO, and I'd like to get it from pay-per-click now. I said, why? He said, well, I want to double my sales. Okay, so the cost per click was about £1 plus our fees. You're looking at maybe 26 grand a month, ongoing, ad infinitum. I said, can I just ask you a question? He's like, yeah, what's your conversion rate? He didn't know. We looked into it, 0.3% conversion rate. I said, how about, I've got another idea. How about you pay 26 grand once, and we get the conversion rate from 0.3% to 1.3%. And then every single month, you'll be getting 3 times the amount of revenue, over 3 times in fairness, ongoing. So it's a one-off capital investment for ongoing return on investment. But I'd actually never stop with conversion rate optimization. There's very rarely a business case for stopping to do it. People sometimes push back and say it doesn't take a long time, you've got to deal with developers, they're a pain in the arse, etc. There is a bit of that, of course, but this is a case study from one of our clients, YouMove. It was the one that we won the first Google award for. We first came across them, they said, oh, well, AdWords doesn't really work. We've been trying it and our cost per lead's 500 quid. Asked what their conversion rate was, they didn't know. Turns out it was 0.2%. So straight away we worked with some developers, we gathered some data, and we built them a new website that went live in November. I should say they only got 3 leads that month. Straight away, from 0.2% conversion rate to 3% conversion rate. 262 leads, £28 cost per lead. They were really happy. We'd only just got started. A/B split testing, turning it up in 4 months from 3% to 9%. look at the cost per lead, but the real kicker is look at this. Total leads, 262 to 1,249. And you can see we're sending more traffic as we put more in. And so you might be wondering, well, okay, how did you get that? Those numbers seem almost too good to be true. Once again, guys, it's data science. Running controlled experiments, gathering data, using analytics, using the great Norwich company session cam that records mouse movements, identifying quick wins, making changes. Anything we're not sure about, we create a hypothesis, run a controlled experiment using A/B split testing software. Here's the thing I want to leave you guys with. If you have the highest converting website in your industry, you can buy all the traffic. Definitely. I always say to people, is that your goal? No, it very rarely is. But why isn't it? It doesn't cost that much to have the best looking website. And people say, well, how do we know it's better than the competition? Well, you can conduct a gap analysis. Let me show you how. Say you want to run on the keyword CRM software. It has 5,400 searches a month, cost per click of £30. Might sound high, but it's all relative, right? Someone's happy to pay £30 for it. It's done via bidding. For those of you wondering how I got those numbers below it, there's a plugin called Keywords Everywhere. It's quite nice, it tells you those numbers. So if we click on, say, Zoho, cost them 30 quid, they're not in the room, I don't really care. We can have a look at this landing page and we go, okay, well, I think it looks nice, but market research sampler one's pretty crap. So let's gather some data. There's a cheeky little plugin I like called Built With. Now, Built With will tell you the software that this website is running. What I'm looking for is, are they doing conversion rate optimization? Zoho don't seem to be, but if we look at their competition, these guys, they are. Zargit, they're running A/B testing software. Now, wouldn't it be really cool if we could go back and look at all of the different iterations that Zargit tested so we could get their learnings? Well, of course we can. There's the Internet Archives. You type in Wayback Machine into Google, put in this URL up here, obviously minus the UTM code, and then you can see the different iterations. If you did that with, say, 10 of your competitors who are running Google ads or at the top of organic, you can start seeing what they've learned without spending any money at all. You can conduct that gap analysis. Last but not least, advanced remarketing. Before I jump into advanced remarketing, I want to take us back to, say, maybe 2013, when content marketing was in vogue. Get your brand to tell a story, man. Spend a lot of money on videos, they'll go viral. Just put it out on social media, see what happens. And as a direct marketeer, direct copywriter originally, I was very curious. And so I asked people after they spent 20, 30 grand on videos and collaterals and infographics, was there any ROI? And the honest ones among them said, no, not really. Why was that? Well, the Mad Men had had their say again. 90% of the time was focused on creating really cool content that will go viral. And then marketing was an afterthought. But of course, why was content marketing a buzzword? It must have been working for some people. Yeah, it did. And I tracked them down because I like modeling excellence, and I saw what they did differently. And guess what? They flipped it the other way around. 9% of the time was focused on the marketing strategy, 10% on the content. And the strategy determined the content, because marketing is about setting the next step. I was at a conference a couple of years ago, 3 speakers in a row got up, talked about branding, marketing, all had the slide saying content is king. And I think that's bullshit, quite frankly. Profit is king. All content is good for is pushing people down the funnel, which might sound a bit harsh to the content marketing people until you look at their website, the Content Marketing Institute. It's on their homepage, look. It pushes people down the funnel. That's all content is good for. Selling the next step. So how's this relevant to remarketing? Well, the chances are some of you guys will have a lot of content sitting dormant on your website. And most of it will be what we call evergreen content, right? It's not relevant to a specific period of time. It isn't about GDPR or something. So I had to say the 4-letter word, didn't I? And what you can do is get your content and you can put it together with remarketing. Now, most of you here as marketeers will know remarketing, retargeting, where you follow people around with banner ads, etc. Got to ask the question though, does anyone know, so this is a bit of interaction here, what the maximum number of days are that you can remarket to someone for on Google Display Network or YouTube? Roxanne, you can't answer this, I'm afraid, but anyone who's not, no, neither can you. Any ideas? Throw out some numbers. I'm just going to hold a really awkward silence until someone starts saying something. 50? No, anyone else? 540. So that means someone comes on your website, you can follow them for a year and a half afterwards. And you might be thinking, well, hold on a second, Marcus, like, I don't want to follow someone around with the same banner ad 540 days. That's going to really annoy them. Yeah, it probably would. But now you've got all this content, haven't you? So you can actually tell a story. I hate saying that sort of word, but you can. You can follow them around. You can follow people who've been on different pages, right? So if anyone introduces us to one of our sales guys, they send a link to download our creds doc. That puts a cookie on their browser. And those particular people who are sort of warm leads, if you like, for Fountain get followed around by particular ads, particular videos telling a story. And the reason I mention videos is because remarketing, retargeting should be done across all platforms. A lot of people just assume it's just a banner ad on Google, but of course it's not. It can be YouTube videos, the ones you can skip after 6 seconds. You can have those. You might be thinking, well, this sounds a bit much, Marcus. This is a lot to do, and it's probably quite expensive. Therein is another myth. It's the cheapest and most underpriced strategy on the market right now. Because the way remarketing works, it's pay per click. No one clicks on the ad, doesn't cost you anything, right? It's not charged by CPM, cost per 1,000 impressions. So we've got clients over 1 million impressions a month for less than £1,000. And that's not going to stay that way forever. More people are coming into remarketing, which is pushing up the cost per click, which also pushes on to the CPM if you were to measure it that way. But we've got a nice period of time now where we can stay front of mind with really good content. And the way we look at it is like with an email sequence, email funnel, drawing it out like that. Those of you who are in B2B, it works beautifully for LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, you can have an audience, right, of maybe, 10, 20,000 job titles from the right business, like proper focused, high net worth target audience for B2B. Get them to engage with some content on LinkedIn. Don't try and sell to them straight away because they're just on LinkedIn to get information and network. But the trick is to get them to touch one of your web pages, and then you've got them for 1.5 years. Here's the thing, if they click back on any of your ads and come back, which they will do if it's good content, they're added for another 1.5 years, and another 1.5 years. And for our clients, the strategy is to build up a remarketing list of the ideal target audience from places like LinkedIn that never ever forget about you. So when it's time for them to request for tender, you're there. So in summary, top half of the funnel, attribution. Investigate putting more money into conversion rate optimization. Draw out one of those tables. You'll see a ridiculous return on investment. Advanced remarketing is relatively cheap. There's a wonderful compound impact of doing all three together. And hopefully I'm starting to persuade you. The good old Harari would say that our new religion of dataism didn't just solve the 3 biggest terrors facing humanity for all of time, but it is also solving the 3 biggest terrors that keep marketeers awake at night. So thank you for listening.
Good evening. Do we need marketing? Do we really need marketing? I know what you are thinking. Interesting question, Martin. I had never thought about it before. Probably not. Am I right? No, I see. I know. It's not a laughing matter. And I know that. There might be actually people out there who are thinking that they don't need marketing. They might actually be in your organizations. It can be your sales director, it can be your finance director, maybe a CEO. Of course, they are not thinking it all the time, otherwise you wouldn't be in your jobs. But maybe when the sales target doesn't get hit, or when they are signing off the marketing budget and it feels a bit more expensive, or it feels like they are not certain what they are getting back from it, they might be asking this question. And this question, I feel, is very, very dangerous. Why? It's because the buying has changed. With the access to information, the buyers spend more time researching on their own without engaging with the sales. This is research from Google in 2012, 6 years ago. 57% of buying is happening before sales engagement. This means that more people spend time in the marketing zone. But let me ask you a question. If this is true, if there is a sale in your organization, do you get 57% of recognition for it? Or is it still the sales team who are the superstars in the organizations? So why is this a problem? If your business leaders don't recognize the importance of marketing, and they keep prioritizing the sales or other areas of business, it's not just about the recognition that you don't get, but it's also about the long-term success of the organization. So I think that's why it's important that we actually communicate and educate our business leaders on the importance of marketing. And this is why I'm here today, to help you do that, because I think ultimately it's your mission, and I love helping people to succeed on this mission. Deloitte's research from earlier this year suggests that there are two main areas that marketers need to focus on, and that's in relation to the sales and the finance. Both of these departments, they speak different languages. And I believe that those are the ones that we need to educate and we need to talk to. If we want to persuade someone or change someone's view to make ourselves understood, I believe it's very important to understand them first. So I thought we would go through a little bit of landscape scan and understand what's the current dynamic over there. So if you will play with me a little bit and answer a question, what is your pet peeve about sales? What's your common pain point or complaint about the sales? What do you feel when I say sales? Anyone? Come and play. Or maybe not you. What do you think marketing thinks about sales?
Sometimes there's conflict, isn't there, between marketing and sales?
Conflict between marketing and sales? Yeah, anyone else?
I think traditional salespeople don't value marketing as much as
Mm-hmm.
I would.
Why do you, if I were to ask you what is the one thing that you don't like about sales, what would it be? Well, the most common answer I hear to this is they don't follow up on our leads. By far the most common pain point that I hear from marketers. What do you think about finance in the same regard? Let's think about it. Okay, I'll let you think about it. That's even that's enough. Oftentimes people say finance, they don't give us enough budget. Yeah. How about we reverse the tables and we ask, what do they think about us? What does sales think about marketing? What is their most common complaint?
We're not results driven.
We are not results driven. Good one.
Not enough leads.
Not enough leads. Well done. Another one. All the leads are not good enough. Yeah, not enough good leads. Most common complaint from sales. What is the complaint from finance?
Spend too much money.
Spending too much. Okay, this one resonates. Spending too much money, and is the uncertainty that they don't know what they are getting for that money. This is the research that Marcus has mentioned. As you can see, I am up to date. Yesterday, I've just changed it to 2018. However, if you notice, the top 3 challenges are exactly the same. They have changed by 1 or 2%. So my question is, what have marketers been doing last year? And I haven't checked 2016, but it might be that the challenges were the same. So they are really the key challenges of marketing. What I find interesting is actually in relation to those dynamics with sales and finance, I believe that the first one actually directly responds to that complaint from sales. Yeah, sales are complaining about not having enough good leads. And look at that. Your main challenge is generating leads. The second one is responding to the finance director. They are complaining that they are too expensive because they don't know what they are getting back. Second challenge is proving the return on investment of the marketing activities. Yeah, the third challenge is actually just a direct impact of the second one. And the second thing I find interesting about these 3, they are interlinked together. You secure budget, you generate the leads, then you prove the value you've created, which then helps you secure more budget, and so on and so on. And they can be, it's like a spiral, and it can be a positive spiral going up. The more value you create and prove, the more budget you will get. Or it can be a negative spiral. If you don't know how to prove the return on investment, you are unlikely to get more budget or get the same budget again. You will generate less leads. You will create less value. So it's important to actually cover all of these and solve all of these because they are interlinked. Solving one of them will not do it. Marcus has spoken about generating leads, and now I would just like to illustrate how that is not enough and why we have to focus on the full funnel. So imagine you've got an organization, you've got a marketing spend of 100,000, just for the simplicity of it. You generate 1,000 leads, which is a cost per lead 100. And again, using very round, simple numbers. Let's say these are sales qualified leads, so you pass it on to sales, and then they convert 10% of them, 100 customers. And let's say one customer generates £5,000 worth of value, therefore 100 times 5,000 is 500,000. Okay? Let's say that's where we are. Let's assume we've got the same budget. You've hired an amazing agency like Fountain, and they did the website optimization, they did PPC optimization and remarketing, and they generated twice as many leads for the same budget. 2,000 leads for £100,000. Time to celebrate, right? Pat yourself on the back, give bonus to the agency. Everyone's open champagnes and just celebrate like it's the year 2000. But look what happened. What if the sales team still only closes 100 customers? And what if these customers actually generate less value than the previous one? In this example, it's 4,000 per customer instead of 5,000. Overall, the company is making less money in this example than before. So while marketing is celebrating because they've achieved amazing numbers generating leads, the whole company is not celebrating at all. They are worse off. And it works both ways. It can be the other way around, marketing generating less leads, but maybe they convert better. Maybe they are more valuable. This is a very simplified full funnel. And this actually is how you prove the return on investment. This, if I'm a CFO, this is what I want to see. I want to see I've put in £100,000 and I got back 500. For every dollar I gave you, you brought me 5. This is exactly what the proving of ROI is. However, there are challenges with this. And I am fully aware of that. Yeah? Data is all over the place in different systems. The data is not clean, it's not complete. There are other challenges like attribution. GDPR might be a challenge these days. And there is a resistance in sales, but also in IT. However, I believe these challenges are technical. They can be overcome. But I think there is one challenge that's different. And that's about the ownership of full funnel. Many organizations to this day operate two-sided funnel. Marketing side, the pink one, and the sales side, the blue one. No one actually has got the ownership over the all. There are organizations these days who have got a single leader who is chief revenue officer, and their responsibility is for the full marketing and sales. And I see more companies doing it, and I believe that's the future. But at the moment, many companies have got a CMO, and they've got a sales director, and they've got individual responsibilities for the part of the funnel. However, as a marketing leader, you can't prove ROI without knowing the numbers at the right-hand side. And many organizations don't actually even have access to that data. Many agencies need to operate in a way where they don't see how many of their leads converted, so they can't optimize. The problem is there is not a single leader. The only person who is above marketing and sales is sometimes just the CEO. However, in their eyes, they are busy. They're delegating to the marketing leader, they're delegated to the sales leader. Their job is done. So they expect the marketing and sales to do their job. I believe the solution to this is to take one leader who takes ownership of the full funnel, who becomes the champion, the hero of full funnel. What does it actually mean? It's not that difficult. It actually means just getting hold of all the data, connecting it together, and leveraging the data, presenting it in a way that makes sense, basically showing this report. So my encouragement to you would be that hero. And if you want to solve all the other issues, just speak to us. We've done it with other people. We know how to overcome the other challenges, but this one, it's a challenge that you need to overcome yourself. You need to make the decision. So let's assume you have become the full funnel champion. Now you are kind of taking ownership of something that you don't control, of that second half of the funnel. The sales, it's outside of your control. There's a sales director. And as you said, or as I said actually, one of the complaints is sales don't follow up on our leads. Solution for that? The same data that you have used for presenting the return on investment, you can use the same data to actually hold sales accountable and make sure that they do follow up on your leads, which gives you certain control. And this is not to punish them or use a stick on them. It's actually making sure that they follow up on a promise that they made. They said, with every lead, we will call them within a day, and then we will keep trying for the next 5 days. We will use phone, we will use voicemail, we will use instant messaging, we will use email. And all of that can be easily tracked, and it is already in the data, or it should be in the data. And all it takes is a single report. I'm not going to go into the detail, but it's a single one-page report that can show you whether sales follows up according to the process, whether there are bottlenecks in the process, and where they are. And once you know that, you can actually fix them. And this is my favorite pet peeve. This is my favorite pet peeve about reporting in general in companies. We often see reports like this, high-level numbers that show you what happened. But this report doesn't tell you why it happened. If you look at the second row, this is the example when the marketing made a lot of leads, but then we lost the value in the second half of the funnel. Why was that? Maybe the first thing that comes to my mind, maybe it is the sales team doesn't follow up on the leads. But it might not necessarily be that. It can be that sales team is already at capacity, they don't have enough people to follow up. But it could also be that the quality of leads came down. Maybe we are paying less for the leads, but they are actually not the same as the leads that we were paying for before. But this report doesn't tell you why. Therefore, you can't confidently say what happened. And there will still be the clash and the conflict between marketing and sales. One will be saying one thing, the other one will be saying the second thing. The solution for that is to actually deep dive into the numbers and slice and dice the data according to different dimensions. And that can be channels, campaigns, keywords, as Marcus said. It can be by customer profile, by cohorts, products, individual salespeople. By going deeper, you can actually answer why did it happen. One of my favorite ones is actually a step of a sales process. If you imagine a sales process that has got 5 different steps, where is the problem? And it can be different for different salespersons. So if you actually cut it by 2 different dimensions, you can be very specific, very targeted. And then the actions that you take will make the biggest impact. Here's an example of a report. If we did the return on investment by channel, if I was a CMO, this would be probably my favorite report. I would see for all our channels how much I've spent into each of them, what was the cost per lead, and what was the return on investment. And you can see how this one actually drives you towards action. And the action is simple. Take the money from the ones that don't perform and move them to the ones that do. Yeah? Good reporting drives action and suggests the best action and the best return on investment. In summary, I believe that if you embrace the full funnel mentality, you can really prove the return on investment in your area. And not only you will get the recognition that you deserve, but you will also set up your company for ongoing success. But it starts with that one question. Will you become that full funnel champion, the full funnel hero? Over to you. Thank you.
Sales and marketing alignment. We've been talking about this for many years, and my belief is we're going to be talking about this for many years more. Why is that? I think firstly, it's because it's very difficult. And secondly, it's not actually a destination. It's about going on a journey. But is that journey worth traveling? Well, according to research from 3 different organisations, IDC, for example, have done research that proves that if you don't align your people around process and technologies, you can lose up to 10% in revenue per year. Now, Serious Decisions did some research over a 3-year period and found that companies with tight sales and marketing alignment had 24% faster revenue growth and 27% faster profit growth. And marketing profs found that you get 36% higher retention, 38% higher win rates, and an astonishing 208 more marketing source revenue from a tightly aligned sales and marketing department. And that bar is not even in scale, it's off the chart. So the question to you is, does anybody here believe that sales and marketing alignment, when you really work at it, would it yield more results? Does anyone disagree with that? Good, I thought there might be one mad person in the room. But no, maybe you're still thinking it in your mind, so hopefully by the end of this talk that you will appreciate the value it can bring. And if not, let's meet for a drink afterwards, because I will try and convince you. The first thing about sales and marketing alignment is that it's about marketing alignment and getting your house in order. There's no point trying to work with a sales team and say to them, it's time for us to work better together if you're a mess yourself. So get your house cleaned up before you invite people to come over. And the issue of marketing today is that it's become so specialized with PR and comms and digital and social and events and all these different areas, and they all report into directors who report into chiefs, that it's become a very siloed department in itself. So we're going to talk today about how to break down those silos. And the next part about sales and marketing alignment is actually, it's not just about sales and marketing working together. And that isn't really the goal of sales and marketing alignment. What we're really trying to achieve here is to get the team to work together to be aligned with the customer and the customer's journey, and to create a joined up organisation, which then means that actually it's more than just sales and marketing. It's engineering, product management, because they're making the products that we're selling. It's pre-sales and sales because they're selling it. And it's also services and consulting. So everybody in the organisation who's customer facing is part of this buzzword of sales and marketing alignment. And when I say it's about a journey, it's about continuous improvement, continuous innovation, and creating that competitive edge and trying to beat your competition. And it's a never-ending story. But what I'm going to talk about today is some real life and real world examples of how they've been successful, and also talk about an evidence-based approach by working with hundreds of companies on how you can plot where you are in your journey today. And knowing where you are, you can then start to put strategies together to say, how do I get to the next level? In his book, The Hard Thing About Hard Things, Horowitz talks about a time when his company, Opsware, was about to go bust. He could see the books, they needed to release a product, and it needed to be released on time, and they knew it wasn't going to happen. So the company had weeks to last. So he called the CEO, he called everybody out into a big hotel, big ballroom, and announced to the company, we are in dire straits, we're in trouble. We need to pull out all of the stops. We need to make sure that we do every hour available every day that you can work. And what happened was that some of the people said, do you know what, this company's sinking, I'm out of here. But most people stayed. And what they did was they did work every hour and they turned that company around. And it was then sold to one of the biggest software companies in the world. And he gets to write a book about it. If you haven't read the book, Hard Thing About Hard Things, do read it. Now what that tells me is that in the industry we work in, there is a lot of change and a lot of transformation, and I'm sure you guys have been leaders in that change. For myself, I once worked for a company that went through 3 CEOs, 3 CMOs, and 3 chiefs of sales in a 3.5-year period. Okay? That's some serious change. My responsibility in that job was looking after marketing operations and demand. And the CMO would come to me and say, right, Adrian, we used to be owned by one venture capital firm, but now another venture capital firm has bought us. So we've got some new people in. They're investing money and they're asking how much, what's the return on investment we're getting from marketing? How much is marketing spending and what are we bringing in return? How do we do this, Adrian? I said, well, we asked the salespeople to start using the CRM system and filling it in, which they bloody hate doing. At the same time, I remember the 3rd new chief of sales came along and he was given 6 months to turn around the organisation, the sales team. Now the previous head of sales, he had left, taken some of his best people with him. And so the new head of sales said, right, that's it, I've got to rebuild my organisation. He brought over his sales operations people from his last company because they were well aligned, they knew how to work together. And my job was to interface with these people. But the issue was that all they were worrying about was the short-term goal that the board had given them. It was like, for the last 3 or 4 quarters, this company has not been able to forecast what it is going to close in this quarter. And what that creates is a lack of trust in the investors, the owners, and the board members on, can this company, does it have a future? And if not, they're going to sell it on to the next venture capital firm. And you don't want that. So the stability in the business was we had to make change happen. And the issue with trying to measure marketing is that you need salespeople, when they accept a lead from you and they convert it into an opportunity, that they put a value against that opportunity. That seems quite straightforward. But when the building is on fire, there's not enough salespeople, and the salespeople who are there can't even forecast what's happening in quarter, and marketing's asking, oh, we've got this lead, it's probably close in 12 months' time, no interest. So this is one example of a challenge between sales and marketing alignment, because quite frankly, they don't have the same goals. Now, you could blame the board, but the board is telling sales what they need to do, they're telling marketing what they need to do, and as we've said, it's up to sales and marketing to work it out. It's not the board's job to make us play together. You know, we're all adults here, we've got to work it out. But at the same time, as I said, the engineering department are also involved in this sales and marketing alignment. And what was starting to happen was that they were starting to develop features and functions for some of our big customers and not thinking about the business benefits. And our product management team weren't really interfacing enough with the customers that we wanted to work with and the industries we wanted to go into. So we weren't really sure what was the future of our products that we were creating. At the same time, we were bringing out new products and new solutions and going into new industries. And the salespeople were getting quite fearful of, they were used to selling to a CIO and a CTO. We said, oh no, why don't we start selling to the CFO? We realized that that is a very big step change to make. And a lot of salespeople weren't comfortable. So we needed to give them more training and more education. So when we talk about sales and marketing alignment, it isn't easy. But what I want to give you now is an example of a case study that we'll look at in depth of how it works for one individual company, just to really bring it to life. And then I'm going to talk about a more evidence-based approach and a model that you can use, because one company isn't the same as you, but with the evidence-based approach, you can take on that framework. And there's no better company to give an example of sales and marketing alignment than a company that's won an award. So they won the Serious Decisions Award for a data-driven revenue engine, really about sales and marketing working together to have this double-digit sales growth that they wanted to achieve. This story is really about having more revenue with less budget. We've just spoken about how that is achieved from the numbers point of view, but now I'm going to talk about more to do with the people and the way they work together. After the first year, we achieved a 100% increase on marketing-sourced revenue. That made sales very happy. But we did this by only increasing the sales accepted leads by 50%. And the reason for that is that we didn't want to bombard sales with too many leads. As we said earlier, just doubling the number of leads does not double the number of revenue. Marketing or sales has a capacity, especially in this organization's example, they were down on salespeople. So we really, really worked hard at marketing of getting our house in order, cleaning up the way that we worked and only giving them quality leads. And therefore, we saved money by not just doubling the number of leads of what we were doing before, and that increased our return on investment. So the first step in this journey, when sales and marketing aren't working together, is to get your house in order and to do something that pushes forward, that gets sales to see that you've given another 3.5 million in revenue. Yet you could argue, if we weren't here, we wouldn't have had that. So do you need marketing? Yes, you do. Can you prove it? Yes, you can. So that's nice, but how? Well, it's really built around 3 key areas: people, playbooks, and performance. For CA, the people element was around sales and marketing jointly partnering to focus on this growth. They were at the forefront of this transformation, and they brought the other teams in with them, because this was a true business transformation. For the playbooks, really we're talking about a mixture of strategy, process, and maybe some light governance. Like, I don't like the word governance. It sounds like you're being policed, but it's really about creating accountability between sales and marketing and them holding each other accountable. And really what we're trying to do here is to create this joined up sales and marketing effort. What we're really talking about is a joined up customer journey, where you're looking at what is this leads to revenue journey? How do you measure marketing's efforts from leads all the way through to revenue? And then it's not just sales responsibility after it's handed over to them. Take responsibility for the entire funnel. And performance is about making sure you have aligned goals. It's not having the same goals, but there is alignment between what you're trying to achieve. And this has to be backed up by integration in your CRM, your marketing automation, and also your business intelligence. And I'll explain that in more detail in a moment. So this is the simplistic way to understand the three Ps. But let's look at people in more detail. We started off by looking at creating a performance culture. The company was originally Austrian. They like to follow process and follow rules. Now, that's great if you're a nuclear power station. Everyone must follow process, because if you don't, someone's going to die. When you're a software company, it's not quite the same. You need to be a bit more agile, a bit more dynamic, and sometimes you do have to break the rules to get stuff done. So it's all about understanding why was the process important. So the company worked from the bottom up and the top down, sitting together going, who are we, what do we stand for? It was also made up of previous acquisitions where there was originally Austrian, they bought an American company, they then bought a French company, and then grew an office in the UK. So you had these 4 country cultures, and also the management in those regions were very different, and so just this different culture. And they even talked about their company in the old name that it was. So there's a real effort to bring all these companies together. Through this exercise, you start looking at the capabilities of the individual people and start looking at how the organisation is designed. And it was very regional based, because I said it was these acquisitions. And we realised, for example, that there was a guy in America who was great at marketing automation. So they had the best campaigns, the best conversion, and everyone else around the world was looking over the fence going, how are you doing that? And so we said, actually, we're going to promote this guy into a global role. And we're going to find our best social person and our best this person, and put this global team together of a crack squad, who we called it the Global Demand Centre. And they were going to help people globally at these specialist areas. Now, you still need marketing people in region. And actually what we found was that most of these people were events managers. And you need that because you need to physically be there. So we gave them specific training on how to become more business focused and understand marketing and sales, how to work together. And we just called it a revenue team and said, when you're working with your sales leadership, you are a revenue team. It's not sales, it's not marketing, it's working together. The company wants to do this double-digit growth, and we're going to work together to make sure this happens. And when you talk about the governance and the rigor, we start to have, say, regular interlocks. And we worked very hard on this. So there's a couple of people here from CA. So we really made sure that every region spent 2 hours every month looking at the data. We called them interlocks, because we're interlocking sales and marketing. Sometimes we brought along the consultants, some services, engineers, just so they could see the challenges between marketing and sales trying to deliver products to customers. We were looking at campaigns. An example would be at the start of the quarter, if you said you're going to achieve this many leads and an event is cancelled, then you better put another campaign in place to make sure that we hit this number, because we've reverse engineered the entire pipeline to say what we're going to achieve. And likewise, marketing held sales accountable, saying, well, you said you need this many leads, there's all these leads over here, and they're not getting followed up. And actually, that one individual salesperson is the one who's holding onto all those leads. And seriously, sales directors would just ring up that person on the phone in that meeting and go, what's going on here? And it's about having that change and having that live data. The final part on people is around lead management and nurturing. Now, this is really having to work very closely with the sales team. And again, this is a never-ending story of when is a lead a lead? When does marketing give the lead to sales? And it's going to be different in every region. Even the individual person might have different ideas on a different day of when they want to lead. So it's really difficult to codify and say, well, when do I pass this to you? Do you want all leads from all chief execs? Yeah. Well, this is a one-person company, so I don't want that lead. And you start to work out how to score these leads and how to automate and when to send them over. And on the nurturing side, we had to educate sales that it's not just marketing automation and digital nurture. They had a responsibility as well to do tele-nurturing. If there was an opportunity that was a year away and they said, well, you know, can you guys keep them warm and just send them an email every month and whatever. So, okay, that's nice, but you've still got to touch base with them next time they download something. Give them a call. Don't ask for a meeting. Say, hey, I saw you downloaded this report. Oh, you know, how did you find that? Was it interesting? I've got this other thing as well. Here, why don't you have that? And keep them warm so they respect you. Now, when we look at playbooks, it's this joined up leads to revenue journey, and you really need to sit down with sales. And in my situation, you know, they weren't interested until they saw the results and they saw that marketing was trying to work really hard, and certain individuals, you know, you just keep chipping away, and it's a case of just try and do as much as you can to get your house in order, and they'll start to see that you're improving. And if the stories of the past of marketing's rubbish, all these leads are crap, it'll start to change, and it'll get over that tipping point, and then you'll start to see that it starts working. Then we talk about product market fit. We start to look at different countries and different regions and say, actually, not all products are relevant in every country and every region. So don't treat all of your leads in the same kind of way. Understand that in certain countries, they're buying one product, in another, they're not. And that was really based around getting together all the sales organisation, marketing organisation on and off site for 2 days. And we invited engineering, product and consultants, anyone who knew anything about our products and our markets, all the brains in the business that supposedly know our customers, to sit down and go, we're acting like a schizophrenic company that's all different cultures and everything. How do we make our choice to choose 3, 4, 5 or 6 big plays that we're going to go after for the next year, real campaigns? And we call these go-to-market campaigns because they're not marketing campaigns. They are company-wide campaigns where engineering, who are building the product, are giving input on what is this product about. Product management, spending time with customers and getting their feedback. Marketing, doing the execution and making sure we measure. Pre-sales and sales, being trained by the engineers. And this is where you start to get into the enablement side of things, where if you're really want to get your company to focus, it's choosing a bunch of plays. And for us, it was 6. And I think for any country, 4 of them would be relevant, because they said certain products didn't work, and you need to find those and get people to focus on them. We're also working a lot with IT, and being an IT company or a technology company, software company, we started to work in an agile way with IT on releases. And then we said, actually, it's a big buzz at the moment, agile for marketing instead of working a waterfall approach. We found it worked very well for our business because we were changing so fast, and we were trying to create 6 campaigns at the same time. That would have taken us a year to plan out in a waterfall approach. And sales can't wait a year for a campaign to be ready. So it was like release the first email, get the leads in, nurture them with the next bit. So just get the campaign going, and then start getting feedback from sales and feedback from customers to say, how can we tweak this? How can we improve this? Instead of trying to do a big bang approach, break it down into smaller pieces. And on the playbook side as well, it really needs to have integration with back office functions. So we needed HR because we needed to rehire people and fill in the gaps when we went through the org design. We also needed to work with finance because on the CRM system, we were looking at how do we measure leads through to revenue. And actually all we could do is leads through to bookings when someone signs a contract. Now, sometimes a company signs a contract, but they don't pay you for a while, or they shelve the product and don't use all of the licenses. And we really wanted to show to the board leads right through to revenue. So that meant integrating our CRM system with our business intelligence and our finance systems to get that true number. Now, performance is really about this insight and this learning, and make sure you have a platform to get this information. As we had new board members, they wanted to know what are the key measures that the business is looking at that will tell you, are we on track or not? Key performance indicators are key here, and it's sharing with the board, but also with the wider business. And then beneath that, each individual had their own objectives. But we moved away from a management by objective approach to an objective and key results approach. They're quite similar, and actually OKRs have been popularized in recent years by Google, who've done very well. And the main difference is that with your OKRs, you have visibility of what your goals are across the entire organization. It's not just with your manager. So with that visibility, people can see, well, what's Adrian working on and how close is he to achieving what his goals are? And actually, he's doing something similar to what I'm doing. Why don't we work together on this? And that's the visibility you need to create between sales and marketing and the wider organisation. And this is where we also had a company-wide project management platform. And that platform meant that a company could work across different silos and different departments and have accountability of who was working on what area. I want to talk about real-time analytics. I'm talking about stop going to meetings with spreadsheets. It's 2018 and it's the 21st century. And how many meetings have died from saying, oh, I downloaded this spreadsheet yesterday, oh, I downloaded mine this morning, oh, these numbers are different. There's just no need for that. It's just wasting time. Make sure you have real-time analytics and you're both looking at the same numbers all of the time. And a subset of that is going to the board. So that's a very simplistic overview of how Computer Associates went through this process. But what happens, I've shown you the results after 1 year. After 4 years, the company had gone from achieving 17% of marketing source pipeline to over 60%. You can keep going. I don't know if you can get to 110% marketing source pipeline. But what happens at this stage is that the salespeople start saying, okay, will you stop talking about how much of the pipeline has been sourced by you? We get it. You're really, really helping us. And then you start to talk about other things like, actually, we've got these deals. Can you do some campaigns to help us close these deals? And the relationship starts to evolve. And then, so this is a fascinating case study. And Chris Borman, Dr. Chris Borman here, the CMO, has a webinar on Bright Talk. So you'll get this presentation afterwards, but do listen to that because he's talking about it in his own words, in a lot more detail. But what you start to see is a pattern. I've done this with hundreds of companies, and what you start to see is an evidence-based approach to say, this is actually a journey. Companies at the start are doing activity generation. You go to the marketing department and you say, hey, how's it going? They say, yeah, I did 5 email shots and we did 3 events. Okay, that's nice. What came from that? So there's no talk of the activity or the outcome, the business outcome. The next type of department around lead generation, they say, yeah, we came back from an event, we got 100 leads, and they're holding a goldfish bowl with 100 business cards. Okay? From a competition, and we don't know who these people are. So it's nice, you're building the database, but these are not leads. So the next step up is around demand generation. And how you're creating demand is by looking at, actually lots of people are reading our content and coming to our website, but they're not all going to become customers. So we need to start qualifying these as marketing qualified, and then sales accept them, sales qualify them, and then they become opportunities. So you start to create more rigor and process and more of a playbook around how sales and marketing work best together. This is when the tide starts to turn because you're having more conversations with sales and they're starting to understand, okay, this marketing stuff is not that easy. It's actually quite scientific. And these marketing people are working really hard at cranking and trying to improve these conversions. And so they start to understand that they do need to give feedback. They start to understand actually there is a point in using the CRM system and filling in the information that you're asking for because they know they're going to get better quality leads because you've proved it to them. At this stage, sales and marketing create a relationship where there is greater trust and the accountability means that they're ready to have conversations, tough conversations, to point at each other to say who's not doing their part of the job. That is when marketing can go to revenue generation. There's a lot of talk, a lot of noise in the industry by normally marketing technology companies saying, revenue marketing, that's the place to be. You cannot be there until you've gone through these steps and built that relationship with sales and marketing. Because no marketing person is going to take a revenue number, whether that be pipeline or bookings, if they don't trust their sales team. If they say, they don't follow up on our leads. So there is steps that you go through. Now, the ultimate, sitting behind the sun and glowing, is value generation. Because what starts to happen is that when you get a company that starts to look at this information, starts collecting this data, they start to get a lot of rich historical data. And from that rich historical data, you can use predictive analytics to say, actually, that lead with that job title in that industry looks a bit like all these others that we've done. You start to find patterns. And do you know what? They kind of bought one little thing and then they never bought anything more from us. So actually, we're going to predict the lifetime value of this lead as being quite low. And so we're going to disqualify it. Even though it will bring in revenue, it's going to waste our salespeople's time. When you start working like that, you will have the ultimate respect for sales. from sales. Likewise, when sales are saying, okay, you've got 60% of the pipeline from revenue, can you help us close more deals? You can start to look at customer churn. And if you've got a group of customers that you must keep, and then you look back a few years and there's patterns that customers go through. They'll make complaints, there'll be calls, there'll be issues. And you can start to work out patterns that say, actually, I'm going to predict for the next 12 months that these customers are likely to churn. Some of them, well, we're not fussed about, but these ones we really, really must keep. And using that kind of predictive analytics, you can then start to do advanced account-based marketing. And that is where the ultimate sales and marketing relationship can work together. You're not going to digest this now, but you'll get these slides afterwards. But what you start to get is you can set out a matrix of where you are today and where you want to be in a year or 2 years' time, and start to move forward with these steps. So that's freely available on the website, so digest that later. So in summary, we look at people, playbooks, and performance. The people is around having a shared purpose and having a culture where it's open and there's accountability between sales and marketing. The playbooks are around having a strategy where you understand what your customer is doing and you align yourself and your company to be where your customer is, and to make sure sales and marketing and everyone else who's customer facing is doing the best job to make sure there is a joined up customer experience. And having a performance culture, or just having a performance outlook, is saying that you're going to look at the insight and you're going to learn from that, and you're going to develop your people and use that as the guidance. And it's about the systems and platforms. But the thing is that the amount of people that call me and say, Adrian, my marketing automation isn't working, can you fix it? My CRM isn't working, can you fix it? It's not the technology that's the problem. It's their people aren't working together, and they don't really have playbooks. They don't have a strategy, and they haven't got their house in order. What are you hoping to automate if you haven't got your house in order, if you don't know who you're selling to and what you're doing? So always start with people, work together on the playbooks, and then start to perform as you then start to get these good plays. So finally, in summary, people is about trust and commitment. Playbooks is about helping to give people direction and accountability. And performance is about insight and learning. So I hope you can take this away with you and optimize your funnel. Thank you.